Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to our second preview show of the week, where we'll be having a look forward at the boxing here in Britain. That is Murtazaliev versus Josh Kelly, as well as the somewhat falling apart boxer card, all that good stuff. If you haven't already, check out our last episode. We talked about Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez. Straight into the action. Murtazaliev, Josh Kelly up in Newcastle, the Newcastle Arena. It's a nice little card they've put together, actually, Matchroom, for this one. I think it's gone under the radar a little bit.
Well, compared to what Boxer is offering us on Saturday night, I think
it's overshadowed slightly, isn't it, by Shakur Teofimo. But for Josh Kelly, this is a brilliant opportunity. Whether or not you think he'll be on the right side of it, regardless, it's a brilliant opportunity.
Yeah, massive fight for Josh Kelly. He almost, after a few years ago, felt like he had a lot of potential. I think a lot of people backed him to do quite well, but following that knockout loss to was it Avanesian during COVID, almost felt like the whole promise was just knocked. And I think that probably dented his confidence a bit, but he's built up quite well. The win he had against Ishmael Davis a couple of months ago, was he on Wembley?
He was late notice as well.
Late notice for Ishmael Davis. It was when Ishmael Davis was just, if any fighter, any weight in any location gets called off last minute, you just ring up Ishmael Davis.
But he's a really talented fighter, Josh Kelly. I don't know if he'll have enough this weekend, but he's got the advantage of the home crowd as well, which I think will help. But I think he's gonna have to probably produce a career best performance to get a result on Saturday night.
That's exactly it. When I looked at this fight and when I saw it announced, my sort of eyebrows raised, because I was thinking, how has Josh Kelly sort of landed himself in this sort of fight? But he sort of, his career since with Wasserman and, fighting on Channel 5 has seemingly gone under the radar. I feel like, he's main eventing up north on a consistent basis, but the sort of level of opponents he's been fighting, he's sort of been up against opponents that you go, all right, you're beating him easily. This fight on Saturday night is probably the biggest fight of his career. It's in his hometown. Well, I say hometown. Basically his hometown. And it's his toughest fight of his career. It's a dream opportunity for him. It's just he's up against an incredibly tough opponent that I feel like if... We talked about Bruce Carrington in the podcast on Tuesday about how when you go for your first world title, you want an opponent that you can sort of have a sort of confidence of, I'm going to win. For Josh Kelly, he is up against it on Saturday night. And when I mean he's up against it, I feel like he is going to have to bite down on that gum shield. He's going to have to go to places that he's probably never been to before in the ring. And it's going to be really, really tough for him.
He'll believe he's good enough, though. I think he will believe he's good.
You got to, but if you were going, like I said, if you were going to pick a world title fight for your first, it wouldn't have been against this guy on Saturday night.
Possibly not, no. But obviously, the idea of doing it in front of a home crowd as well, despite not being the champion, I think is a really exciting opportunity. I think it's something.
But they're going to be like the 12th man, aren't they?
Yeah, he's been waiting for an opportunity like this, and as soon as it looks likely, for various different reasons, obviously the Avanesian loss, things like that, it hasn't quite happened. And this is finally the sort of culmination of all those years of hope and promise and expectation from British boxing fans. And we're finally seeing whether or not it'll pay off or not. Like you say, I think he's really up against it. I think it's been a really, really tough fight for him. But, all credit to him. You've got to be in the ring to win it. And he's absolutely got a chance to win that fight.
And how many times, we've seen it literally 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago with Dalton Smith over in America, where one of us said he's up against it. I wouldn't, not pointing fingers, but someone said that, Matthias would win. Don't want to bring it up again, mate, sorry. But it has happened in recent times, hasn't it, that a British fighter has gone up to that level where you think, hang on a minute, I'm not too sure about his sort of, if he's going to get through it. And it could be, Josh Kelly could use that for confidence, why not?
Do you think this could be the right time to catch Murtazaliev, though? The fact that I don't think he's fought in about 15 months. Josh Kelly hasn't fought that level of opponent, but has been a lot more active. Could possibly be the way he just catches him at the right time. But
yeah, I think what Matchroom know that they've done here is they've balanced the odds as best in the favour as they can. Obviously, with where it is with the inactivity from Murtazaliev with in comparison to that Josh Kelly, who's been quite active and has had some tougher fights. You know, the Ishmael Davis fight was not a straightforward affair by any means. It was for about 9 or 10 rounds, and then he had a really tough ending to it. And we talked just earlier in the week about Andy Cruz versus Murtazaliev. He hasn't had that championship round test yet. Josh Kelly has had that. He's come through that. He's also lost it, obviously, against Evan. He's had tests up to this point. So with the amateur pedigree that he had, I think this is the best of Josh Kelly we're ever going to get. So if he's going to win a world title, it will be on Saturday night. So yeah, I think absolutely this is the best time to catch Murtazaliev, and then, you know, for him, he's got to take the opportunity.
It's another one of those fights as well where you got a sort of slick boxer, and Kelly was going to more than likely sit on the back foot and try and counter punch. But again, how good is he going to be keeping someone like Murtazaliev off him? And I think it just could be the case. You've seen in the Avanesian fight, he was doing well to a point in that fight until he got caught with a big shot where I think it was maybe a bit sloppy and just got caught with his hands down.
And the cuts as well, and that probably didn't help.
And it could be the same case again. You've seen Murtazaliev, his last fight against Tszyu, where he caught him with those big shots. He knocked him down 4 times, and the fight arguably should have been stopped a lot earlier than even it only got to the middle of the 3rd round, where he dominated from start to finish in that fight. And there's a slight worry there if Josh Kelly gets caught with a big shot, it could end up the same on the weekend.
Yeah, it's the thing that always concerns me about Josh Kelly is he never seems to quite put together a complete performance.
No.
And the performances, he looks up very, very good. It's almost too comfortable, or the nice. And then like we said, the Ishmael Davis fight is the perfect. You know, he was putting together what was looking like an absolute walk in the park, complete, I am next level. And then Davis just got to him a little bit. And I don't think that's a discredit to Josh Kelly, because Ishmael Davis is a good fighter. He's a great fighter. But you haven't seen enough of a complete performance to suggest against someone like Murtazaliev, who we know is a big puncher, we know will keep coming, we know will be hard work, that he can do that for 12 rounds without, you know, possibly coming unstuck. But then, you know, will he have the knowledge and the guile a little bit more now as a maturer fighter, having been through some tougher fights, to know what to do in those situations, to not necessarily try and completely get on the bike, to kind of balance things a bit. So I think it's going to be a really interesting 50-50 fight. Not 50-50, but it's both men can win this fight.
I think, well, it's a lot closer than maybe people are making out.
Maybe, but I don't. 50-50 is not what I mean. But it's a closer fight. It's a fight in which both fighters can win, which is always exciting on a main event. And then you've got Josh Padley as well, looking to pick up the EBU European. Comes off the back of a win against Reece Bellotti, wasn't it? Which was, I think, slightly tainted somewhat by the scorecards. People didn't have it quite as the same way as the judges did. But this one for Josh Padley is a fight that he should be winning. And proof again that with the right backing, he can be a decent fighter, perhaps not as good as Harry wants.
I'm not being funny, boys. He is taking that sort of the steps, ain't he? You know, he's a long way away.
I think Matchroom are doing a good job of building him in the right way. They've given some decent fights where it's made him look good enough. The Reece Bellotti fight, the last fight, I know Reece Bellotti is probably at the latter stages of his career, but there was still a very good win and performance, and to pick up a European title is a very good next step, I think, for Padley, if he can do it on the weekend.
Yeah, and Reece Bellotti, like, leading up into that Ryan Garner fight, and we know how good Ryan Garner is, you know, there was talks of, you know, that's a good test for Ryan Garner. And he got through it, but he's always competitive, Reece Bellotti, and Josh Padley looked good, if nothing else, against Reece Bellotti.
It wasn't the best of performances.
It wasn't, but you know, very few people look their best against Reece Bellotti. So I think this is interesting. I think he absolutely should be winning this fight. He absolutely should be. And then it's a case of where do you go from there? We obviously saw with Dalton Smith the route he took, that very traditional route up to, you know, via a WBC silver.
You're not going to sound like his dad now after the fight, are you? And read out all the belts he's won all the way.
No, we're there all day. Yeah. But I think that is what they're trying to do. They're aware they've got a talented fighter who isn't quite, doesn't have that pedigree, doesn't have that level where you go, yes, this guy will will definitely go on to fight for world title. So you build them up slowly, you give them the right test, the European, the Commonwealth, things like this, and you build up. And there is a world where he challenges again for a world title, like he obviously did against Shakur Stevenson. But as things stand at the weight class, I just don't see him competing at the top.
I thought he was going to join my argument.
I'd like to see if Josh Padley can win on the weekend, get that European title. I wouldn't be against him getting the winner of Lee Wood and Josh Warrington. Yeah. Because I think they could position that as a sort of interim. They could probably figure out some way to get that as an interim world title.
Well, whoever wins that fight is undoubtedly still a periphery world level fighter at worst. Lee Wood comes off the back of a loss to Jessica Katcher, who is a world champion. He's very, very good. And Josh Warrington's had a poor few performances, and I'm aware I'm saying this in the show.
Are you going to be biased here, or are you going to try and be impartial?
But he's come unstuck against some good opponents, and it's hard to kind of actually place what level he's at. Lee Wood's going to be a really tough fight for him, but if he did come through the Lee Wood fight, you'd suggest he was. So whoever wins that fight, absolutely, I think you could position for a pretty strong interim. But I think Lee Wood would be a really tough fight for Josh Padley.
But you're at that level then, in your way. Most of the fights you're going to be given at that point is tough. So I think it'd be better to give him a fight that is. I think that's commercially viable as well. If you give him, I think either the winner of that or the winner of Kakachi and Dickens. Yeah. Which I don't know whether is for a world title, is it?
Yeah, but packaged and unified. WB and unification fight.
An IBF, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's WBO, yeah.
If I was Padley, if I had the European title, I wouldn't mind taking a roll of the dice of one of them two.
Yeah, I think you
try and win a world title.
I think you have to. Another fight on this card, Elif Turhan.
To Ben.
One of your, I forget what
female fighter of the year.
Was it female fighter of the year?
Female fighter of the year.
So sell this one for us.
Well, she's coming up against someone 8-1, Taylor Genson. The one loss though is against Shauna Brown, who Turhan obviously knocked out last year. I think was in there a couple of rounds with it.
3, but 1.
It was the first round, I think. Yeah.
What's happening?
And
he's drinking.
I expect Turhan to get another stoppage this weekend. I think this is get her out nice and early in the year, show again how good she is and how dangerous she can be in that division, and then you look for some big fights at the back end of the year. And I think there's some interesting fights you could get with her. The Caroline Dubois fight is the obvious one if they can build towards that, especially now Caroline Dubois has gone to MVP, isn't she? So I don't know how easy, or if that'd be easier to make now. I would suggest it'd be easier to make that she's not with Boxer, so then you haven't got the issue of Ben Shalom and Eddie Hearn trying to work together.
Yeah, what you're looking at as well, though, is all the fighters at that weight category are with MVP in terms of world champions.
But you can list off other people fighting what top level female fighters haven't MVP.
Lauren Price.
Lauren Price, Katie Taylor.
And I can't see it being long before Lauren Price is.
Yeah, we'll have to see on that. But I think, like you say, whether it's Terry Harper, whether it's Caroline Dubois, there's interesting fights. I mean, Dubois fight, style-wise, excites you because they both break the mold, the traditional mold of when you look at female fighters and female fights of sort of high-energy technical bouts. They both look to smash you out of there until you put them in the ring together, and you're possibly in line for a bit of a slugfest, which will be great to watch.
The only other issue you're going to get with that is because there are some rumours around MVP possibly signing a deal with Sky Sports to become the main source of boxing on there, whether Sky Sports will look at that and just we'll put on the best female fight cards. That will be our angle back into boxing. You know, Sky Sports generally, I think, have done a good job and have put a lot of emphasis behind covering female sport over the last few years. So
they haven't got any boxing there at the moment.
That's right. I think that would be the angle they'd go back at. I think when you look at certainly boxing in terms of male boxing, it's covered by so many different people, whereas MVP have very much got a stronghold on female boxing. So I think that'd be a smart sort of investment from Sky Sports and a smart way back into the sport. So that's the only potential stumbling block I could see, because Matchroom are still with the zone. Could there then be a potential issue between who's putting the fight on? But then I suppose it's down to...
I think Eddie and Matchroom know that the best opportunities they can do for their female fighters, they do have in the form of Ayton, Sally Ryan, and Elif Turhan, is get them to a point where they get that big fight, which almost always pay-wise for them is going to be on a MVP show. And I think that's slightly different for Ayton because of the way she is in her career. But, you know, if the right fight comes up for Sandy Ryan and or Turhan that they're putting on, Eddie's going to go, yeah, have that, because that's where the money is for those fighters and therefore for him. But also, I don't think DAZN are going to be fighting tooth and nail to keep hold of Turhan, unfortunately. I don't think they care for losing those female fights necessarily in the same way they would in Anthony Joshua or someone of that nature, even though there are some brilliant fights to be had. I just don't think they'll see that as the same value.
I would love to see Dubois and Turhan go back into this year, though.
It's a very like we said though, it's a very makeable fight now. Yeah. He's no longer a boxer. So.
I think it's probably top 2 or 3 best female fights you can make in the world right now.
Yeah.
I think a Lauren Price versus Michaela Mayer unification fight is probably the best you've got.
I don't see that happening.
No, but that's the best fight available in female boxing, I think. And then not far behind it, you've probably got this or Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron rematch of some form. So interesting things to have a look at.
I like it that you didn't say Clarissa Shields and none of that of the fights to watch.
I think you're probably more likely, apparently, looking at Clarissa Shields and fighting probably Michaela Mayer from the back and forth they had on social media. Then I just don't see that fight.
Fair play to Shields, man. She went back and forth with us as well. She's going back and forth with me.
Yeah.
I just can't see the Michaela Mayer and Lauren Price fight happening. Why is she's a boxer? I just don't think they can stump up the money.
That's a good segue, I reckon.
Which is?
From, we just talked about boxer.
There's a few more bits and bobs.
Oh, okay, sorry, my bad. I'm getting ahead. Jumping again.
Are we saying that's a fight that should be winning though, realistically, quite comfortably? Just a nice
Turhan will get a stoppage this weekend.
I agree. We got Leo Atang coming out as well against Amina Buketa, a fighter we've seen live. He's an awkward opponent on the other side, but again, this is Leo Atang. This is the level of fighter you expect him to be definitely beating, probably stopping.
And what I like about Atang at the moment is he's active, he's fighting. Well, he's last fought in Ghana, now he's up in Newcastle. He's going around and he's fighting different challenges. Again, I do expect him to get through.
Yeah,
Buketa on Saturday night, but we've seen him live and we know that he can take some punishment. He can take those punches. He's very durable. So it'd be quite interesting to see perhaps Atang go deeper into the 6 rounds that's scheduled instead of getting blitzing someone out of there in 1 round. So hopefully we get to see more of him, but if not, get him out on the Leeward undercard and then continue building him up. And
I think he's another one as well, speaking of the opportunities, I think he's just one who soon will get that kind of American treatment that we've seen Visioli and alike get from Matchroom.
Do you reckon if a prospect now goes over to America, is it an indication that their next fight is for a title? For example, Visioli went over to Philadelphia, fought, and then his following fight was a main event.
Not far off, but I think it's more just a case of it's a different audience, isn't it? When we see it with the podcast where certain fights pick up an American audience, a lot of fights we talk about, such as this one, probably won't. And like, if you can kind of get some people from that audience to take an interest in you, it can be hugely helpful going forward. And for a fighter like Leo Atang, who is exciting, he is powerful. You know, he's a heavyweight. There's a lot of things to like about him that if you can get that audience interested. So I think they'll do that pretty soon. But I think he's one that they'll move a little bit slower than we've seen with some of their other prospects.
I'll tell you what you do with Leo Atang. You do, as we spoke about on the last podcast, Jarrell Miller and Joshua in America and put Atang on the undercard.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
His obsession with Jarrell Miller.
I just think I think that's a good fight to put together.
Yeah. And topping off this card as well, which is I'll definitely be watching on Saturday, is there's a nice little Northern Area title, which you don't see too often between 2 local fighters. I wish promoters did this more, have more sort of local talent not signed to Matchroom or whoever, they do it, put on good fights.
They do it when they go to Ireland. Yeah. So why can't they do it? Yeah. It is a
I
good
feel
point,
like
mate.
this is the first time ever in all the time we've done this podcast that we've talked about a Northern area title.
Yeah, you
rare,
very
eh?
often.
I can't think of us ever
covering.
covering a Northern area title before.
I can't think of one, but I'm sure no doubt there will be one. But they're just
It's not going to be like a Welsh title where
They're not as
hardly is hardly fought for.
Probably, yeah. With that being said, we'll move over to, as you mentioned, Boxer, which has lost Adam Azim versus Lemos. I mean, I think Boxer as a promotional company are, and I'm not this way inclined, they're very easy to dislike because they're frustrating at times. And this feels like gross misfortune that they've lost this main event, and both fighters, it seems, have gotten injuries. It seems unlikely, but if you take it at face value, that is what's happened. But again, they had a decent main event lined up, and they have lost it, unfortunately.
I give them credit for keeping the card on.
Yes.
And like what?
You're shaking your head, Ben. You're not.
Queen 3.
I cannot believe that they're still putting this card on.
Can you not?
This is going to be the worst card you see all year.
I agree. I do agree. But when you contrast that with how ready Queensberry were to give away that Magnificent Seven, or postpone that Magnificent Seven card, considering how deep a stable they've got, you've got to say some credit to them that this late on they've gone, no, do you know what, these fighters have gone through camps, etc. Let's take the financial hit on this.
It must be because tickets have gone well, maybe. But I honestly can't see a big ticket seller on there. I don't think Fran Hennessy sells tickets very well.
No, I think she's.
Is there a case of they're dealing with the BBC though that they've got to put a card on?
Yeah,
That's
possible.
There's probably the BBC going to them, look, we've got a small number of dates that you've got with us. If you don't put it on this card, well, look at it, BBC now over the next 6 weeks. They can't put boxing on with the Six Nations.
I think also they don't want a big old hole on a Saturday night on their BBC too.
Exactly. Because how many times can you replay an EastEnders episode from 5 years ago?
Well,
Right.
we nearly found out. Fran Hennessy, Ellie Boutel, it's defending her WBC silver, which she picked up last time for Fran. Not quite ready to step up and get that world title fight just yet, it seems. Is this a fight we're expecting her to get through? I mean, record rise, Ellie Boutel, has almost as good a record. She's I think she's on BoxRec. I think she's ranked higher as a British fighter. But there's some risk there. But are we expecting her to get through it?
Yeah, I think so. I think Boxer are playing quite a clever game with Fran Hennessy. She's a good sort of asset for them to have. She's an entertainer. I think they're trying to build her in the right way. But I think this is probably the last fight now before you're probably looking at rolling that dice with a 50-50 or a bit more of a competitive fight, because I don't think you can have too many of these fights before it gets a bit stale and people lose that interest.
Yeah, I do agree. I think they're, like you say, they're right to build her up the way they have, but there will come a point where you do have to roll the dice. You can't just.
Do you reckon that rolling of the dice is perhaps sending her over to America on an MVP card and?
I mean, it's likely that's where the titles are.
As well.
I think Sinead Johnson is the main world champion at that weight category. I can't think of any others off the top of my head.
And I think the other thing you got to give credit to Fran Hennessy as well is that the activity that she's having. She last fought end of November and she's then fighting end of January. It's what you like to see from fighters, especially at a young age as well, is activity. And, she's picking up titles, reclaiming titles, hopefully on Saturday night for her. But I'm happy they've kept the card on for the undercard. But this can't become a theme in a boxer where they have, if the main event falls through, they still have to have that depth of an undercard where it's watchable. Because, the only fight probably I'm going to watch on there is Angelo Dragoni because he's a Welsh boy. Obviously, he's in a away corner fighting now, but you want him to do well. And there's obviously interest in their new signing as well, Gradus. You want to see how he gets on, but you need to see quality. And if you're not seeing quality, people are going to start losing interest in the product that you're trying to deliver. And all I hope is that, Lauren Price has announced that she's fighting beginning of April in Cardiff. If her fight falls through, you hope to God that what they've done with this card if they do it in the utility, is they keep it on. They don't go, because Lauren Price is, God forbid, hopefully Touchwood doesn't get injured. If she gets injured, they call it off, the fight. Hopefully they keep the undercard like they've done here, because it's consistency at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think I mean, like I said at the start, I think Boxer have been really unlucky. But they seem to...
How many fighters have they lost?
They seem to always be unlucky, and at some point you have to say, oh, you know, what's going on here? Why are you always unlucky? Because, you know, good luck, bad luck, it generally comes around. You know, is there something in the business practice, or is it whenever a fight doesn't sell well, they just say it was injury? You know, I don't know. But, you know, you do hope that they do, you know, move things in the right direction, because I think genuine competition domestically for Matchroom and Queensberry is only going to be a good thing for boxing fans. At the moment, they're not that.
What level do you put Boxer at this current moment in?
They're below GBM and DAZN.
And top tier.
And top tier.
Really? Yeah, with that event, yes. You look at the card that top tier
The next card top tier
are
put
putting
together.
on is
GBM have literally got cards coming up that are international. They have fallen behind them too.
Is it? Well, they've gone from Sky Sports to.
Yeah, no, and I do think there's a world where Boxer can be genuine domestic competition for Matchroom and Queensberry. And we've obviously seen what seems like a strategy to go directly against Matchroom and Queensberry in terms of fight dates. But at the moment, unfortunately, because of cancellations and reschedules, etc., they've always been the weaker option. Whereas if they're going to do that, they need to be the more enticing option without needing a DAZN subscription, you know?
Yeah. Well, they're doing the
Boxer fans
same.
go, I don't have a DAZN subscription, but actually, I'd quite like to watch Adam Azim, Daniel Lemos. Good fight. Without it, I think people would rather just tune into DAZN.
They're doing the same on April 4th as well, though.
Yeah.
They're going to be up against Wilder and Chisora.
Yeah. Which is, though
That'll be in America,
in
though. wouldn't
theory,
it?
those were announced. No, it's going to be the UK. They were announced the other way round, weren't they? As opposed to Boxer going, pick that date because there's a card.
Is that another unlucky thing for Boxer? They've just gone, we'll have a nice, clear weekend at the
That's
start of
Easter
April.
weekend as well, mine.
Yeah. No, there's
Couldn't have picked a busier weekend probably to put it on as well.
we've been. I think it's fair to say we've been quite nice about Boxer in general in the existence of this podcast.
They're
And it's
good to
because
us,
they've
yeah.
been very good to us. Not only from a personal point of view, they've been very good to us, but also in terms of promoting Lauren and Reese, they've been very good. You know, they've put on some great events. We watched the card up in Barnsley with Callum Simpson and Zach Chelly. That was a great night of boxing. A really enjoyable one. I was disappointed we didn't get into the what would it have been? Chris Binham-Smith, Richard Reactpour night. That was a good night of boxing. You watched the Royal Albert Hall.
I've been to a few.
That was a good night. So that was
Cameron.
Yeah.
They've put on some really good nights of boxing, but there is always frustrations attached, isn't there?
Do you reckon there'll come a time where Boxer returns to YouTube before we know it? Where BBC go, you're not delivering what we wanted?
Yeah, maybe. And the thing is, we've seen with IVB Boxing that's been announced, they're looking to do it. We saw it previously with, I think it was KSI Logan Paul, which was on a YouTube pay-per-view.
The first time, yeah.
And obviously the benefit of that is you have a YouTube, everyone has a, well, not everyone.
A prime example of real boxing, Huey Fury, Joseph Parker was on YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
I think it was the first pay-per-view on YouTube to buy.
But if you've got a YouTube account and then you're only paying £5 for a big fight night or something, then people will absolutely do it. But whether or not that's financially viable, I don't know.
And what's this about them having a pay-per-view deal as well? Boxer.
Yeah, what was this? It looks like they might be trying to go for a separate pay-per-view deal.
With like,
Yeah, they've got a pay-per-view with someone. I don't know
what
who.
pay-per-view stars have they got at this current moment that
haven't got
can
any.
sell 100,000 pay-per-view buys?
Yeah, it's hard to call.
They haven't got any
And also,
fighters.
just thinking of it, that Chisora
Is Misfit
Wilder card is going to be a Misfits Pro card, which presumably means Vidal Riley might be fighting on the other.
co-main event.
So for Boxer, that's quite unfortunate. You've lost one of your biggest stars, and he's fighting on the same night up against you.
Again, YouTuber, or is he?
No, it's genuine.
Oh, okay.
It's Misfits Pro, which is
Yeah, they're
basically,
pouring on. They basically pouring on professional fight cards. So all the fighters
they're
are going
just
to be
acting
pros.
as a professional promotional company.
So they'll have the British Boxing Board of Control and then
Yeah, all of that.
sort of white collar.
It's in the same way as any other boxing promoter puts on a card. It'll be separate to their YouTube boxing under the same name.
You're telling me that there could be a tag team boxing fight, which they do, and then all of a sudden Vidal Riley walks in the ring and fights.
No,
It'd be different events.
The whole card of professional fighters.
It's probably behind that then.
So I think it's the Solon brothers.
Yeah.
I think they are selling the company to someone, aren't they?
Possibly,
I think potentially they are selling Misfits. So someone else will be.
Guy's company.
He owned,
I think the Solon brothers.
But it gold.
If I've got that right, I think they are. So
Punches Chat's exclusive.
another thing that boxers struggled with, though, is the fact that the people they are pinning their hopes on. Well, Azim this weekend, I already said that they needed him to perform, and that's completely fell through. You had Callum Simpson who got beaten against Troy Williamson. They were
Fraser
pretty
Clark.
much, even though Jimmy TKV and Fraser Clark were both under boxer, they were pushing Fraser Clark all week as if he was the main man, and he got beat. And then you look, they've got Fran Hennessy main eventing this weekend, but not far behind her is another matchroom prospect in Tiah-Mai Ayton who is hot on her heels in terms of, and is probably already putting better performances than her already. Can't be long before that potential matchup comes, and I think there's only one way that fight goes.
Or that matchup goes similarly to Dalton Smith, Adam Azim, where matchroom push it quite heavy, knowing the boxer won't want to take it at that time. So yeah, I think there's lots of interesting stuff going on. You mentioned as well with Jimmy TKV looking like he's fighting Johnny Fisher.
That's
for the
crazy.
British title. I don't blame Johnny Fisher for getting straight back in with that being the opportunity that has come. But I think it's
brave from
It's a
Matchroom.
very brave move, and it's not going to end well.
I don't think so, unfortunately. TKV is a very, very decent operator.
Surely it's better to put Dave Allen in than Johnny Fisher.
Promoter Ben has spoken, so let it be.
Truly, Dave Allen for British title makes more sense.
I think it does.
So is
yeah.
Jamie TKV still a boxer?
I don't know.
Not like you said.
doubt it.
The way they were promoting that Fraser Clark fight, it was a little bit like Jamie TKE was the sort of.
This is Fraser Clark. That's Jamie TKV.
Yeah.
They were trying to
exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting stuff. Should we get on to some predictions?
We're doing our predictions again. I thought we were only doing it for
Double predictions.
Some predictions this week.
cocky in the last episode.
Double cards.
So-
Though I don't think the boxer predictions for this will be. Sorry, we'll do matchroom, won't we? Of course we will matchroom.
Can we do matchroom? Because
We will.
We need to get this podcast a bit longer.
What are you on about that? I think it's fine. I mean, there's only so long that people want to hear us talk about.
Azim Lemos.
It is frustrating though, because if there was Azim Lemos on there,
That's a cracking.
it's a decent enough fight.
That would have been a cracking fight.
It gets you interested.
So Fran Hennessy, is she gonna win via stoppage or points?
Points.
Points, yeah.
points.
I'm not picking.
I'm just having a look on the Boxing News app, and they've only got Murtazaliev versus Josh Kelly.
Happy days.
We're going to put the app down.
Are we? Oh,
And we're just gonna
are we gonna do a silent
We're just going to
protest?
talk about what we think of the promoter, because there's no point in one fight, is there? That's not.
It's Zayas and Abbas Barrow this weekend as well.
Yeah, it's a good fight. That Alice Brown's one that's really
One of the best. My favourite fighters.
He's been unlucky to not be as to not have that world title shot for a while now, and he's finally got it, and I'm really looking forward to it.
He's a really good watch.
Yeah.
Abbas Barrow.
It's easier.
So do we think?
London.
Are we saying we think Murtazaliev's going to come out on top? We're going to say Josh Kelly's got enough in the.
I'm going to go Murtazaliev by stoppage.
As much as I always go with sort of back the Brit when there's a world title fight, I think Murtazaliev probably gets.
I just think that heavy pressure will be too much.
I agree. I think Josh Kelly will start well, look good.
I do think there's rounds.
Slow get stopped.
I think there's rounds in lines. I think it's going to take some time for him to get going without the lack of activity.
Yeah, I think it'd be a late.
it's gonna be
a mid to late stoppage, sort of 8 to 9 rounds.
Just too heavy handed.
It's a sort of fight where you're watching it and you're just waiting for
I
something.
don't know whether
for
I
it to happen.
trust Josh Kelly to take a punch enough. I think that's the
Yeah,
issue.
and I just, like I said before, I haven't seen that complete performance that puts the confidence. We talked about it in the last episode with Shakur Stevenson. Obviously, I'm not comparing those two guys, but in terms of their approaches of being the more technical back foot fighter, making them miss, making them pay, Shakur Stevenson looks like he could do it for 40 rounds and not get caught. Josh Kelly always looks like he's got that in him where he might get caught, or they might start to get to him, or he might slow down, and therefore, it brings the other guy into the fight. So I think as long as Murtazaliev's patient, I think he'll, and I don't mean patient in waiting for it to happen, but forcing it to happen over time, knowing it will come, then I think he will be able to get the stoppage. But I really hope Josh Kelly does win. I'd love for Josh Kelly to win. I don't...
Another British world champion. We've already got one this year.
Yeah, we
do
do.
in 1 month. When was the last time that happened?
I don't know. I don't know.
I was hoping Captain
No, I don't. There'll be some boxing statistician somewhere.
Let us know. Let us know then. Yeah.
Yeah, let us know if you know that, but also let us know what you guys think is happening in that Josh Kelly-Murtazaliev fight, because are we wrong? Are we blindly being harsh on Josh Kelly? Who knows? Possibly, but I think that just about wraps it up for our first, I think, double episode of the year.
First on the podcast. This week might have been my comeback for the year.
Yeah, it has been.
slacking.
We've got lots. There's much more exciting. Lots of exciting stuff coming up soon. So plenty of stuff for us to get our teeth sunk into. I'm looking forward to Nick Bull Figueroa. I think that's just such a good fight. And we were talking about it before we hit record. Leeward Josh Warrington. If you haven't already, watch the face-to-face, because that was fireworks.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
That's a really good fight.
That was a good laugh. Talking about that fight as well beforehand as well.
Yeah, I do. The thing is with those guys is you see with these, there's been the what's it called? The president's been set with kind of face-to-face interviews where people almost are trying to copy the classic, like flip the table, get angry, all this we've seen. Whereas these two, it just generally looked like they despised each other. There was no chauvinship. There was no playing up for the cameras. They just really did not want to be in a room with each other and had no issues letting each other know that, which is, that's what you want from it. It sells the fight well, doesn't it?
Oh, it's going to be cracking.
The atmosphere that night's going to be top.
And you talk about cards and depth and all. Incredible card.
Yeah, that's a really good fight.
That's going to be one of the best UK cards of the year, I think.
Yeah.
So purely off that main event as well.
What they give for Dave Allen and Janae Boston, obviously kind of as a sort of comeback fight for both fighters. Right, number 3. But
Emotion there.
no, I think, with Ishmael Davis, Bilal Fawaz, which is a great fight.
That's for a British title as well, man.
It is, yeah.
Couldn't think of anyone more deserving as well than Fawaz. Sort of get
For the two of them.
For both men.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Either men have had such a convoluted journey.
One man-
Obviously, Bilal Fawaz, a convoluted journey compared to any human on earth of how he's got to where he has so far.
How he's got to where he
Ishmael
is.
Davis, as a professional, has gone about it. He's not taken the straight road, has he? But
He just said yes when he shouldn't. He should have really gone, hang on a minute. Should I say yes or should I just say no? But he's just gone, you know what?
take the fight. And I think it's going to be a really good fight match.
It's got draw written all over it.
It does, yeah. Draw and rematch.
We're going to have to share the British title.
Can you imagine that? Oh my God.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. If you guys like the sound of all of that, we'll obviously be previewing those fights closer to the date, so stick around for that. Otherwise, thank you as always for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
But punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.